Today, I'm going to talk about how e-commerce giants are scaling past $100,000 per day in sales with marketing angles. I'm going to bring you through exactly our strategy, how we do it, real life examples so that you can actually understand what I'm talking about and the structure of it and the strategy so that you can learn and apply the same things for your own business. Now, in case you are a new viewer, my name is Brando. I actively work with 8-figure businesses. This is just one of our own clients that generated over $240,000 in sales just in December 1st alone, 2025. This is just to show you the type of caliber of clients that we work with and the data that we have access to on a daily basis, right? So before we get going into the video, I want to kind of like talk about the foundations of what and like the importance of scaling with marketing angles. I want to show you this very quick breakdown that I did, and then we can dive deeper into the strategy. Stick until the end if you want real life examples and real structures of how to test these things, because I'm going to touch base on that in just a couple minutes. Now, there's two brands, brand number one and brand number two. The commonality of these two brands is that both of them test the same product, right? The only difference is that this company focuses on like 2 or 3 angles, right? And this company focuses on 3, 6, 9, 12, basically 30, 40, 50 angles or more, right? By the way, we have clients that never stop testing angles and keep on testing angles, right? For one product. What do you think will happen to business number one and business number two? Do I have to explain it? You don't have to be a genius to understand that business number two will scale more. Ultimately, why am I showing you this? I want you to understand that the businesses, regardless of the product, the businesses that are able to sell in more ways, in more creative ways, right? Compared to businesses that don't sell in creative ways and catering different segments of people, right? Scale more. These businesses scale a lot more. Imagine you have the same product. One business sells in like 3 different angles. The one that sells in 50 different angles. Of course, they're going to make more money. So this is very, very simple to understand. Now, I do want to give you kind of like an insight. These are not random angles, right? Volume doesn't mean randomness. You still need to do research, creative research, customer research, but we'll get that in just a second. Now, let me bring you through this process from A to Z, how we actually internally test angles and go about it so that you can, apply it for your own business if you want. Now, from A to Z, very quickly, this is super quick. You need to understand that the most important thing before coming up with angles is the customer. If you don't truly understand who your customer is, it will become very random or impossible for you to crack the code when it comes to coming up with angles, right? Building landing pages that resonate with the angle, right? Anything regarding the customer, you need to understand. So the first thing that we do is that we go on Reddit, we go on forums, we go on Amazon, we do customer mind viewing, we go on like the best winning ads of our top competitors, and we read all the comments. We try to understand what their pain points are, their desires, their insecurities, their aspirations. How do they feel? What do they think they need? How do they speak, right? All these things, what language they use, right? The skill needed here is to leverage what you know about your customer to create a sales process they resonate with, from ad to page to offer, okay? Not just from the ad, not just with the offer, even with the advertorial in the middle. You have to create a full-on sales process, even with the upsells on the back. So you always need to keep your customer in mind. Sometimes we just test random things because we think works based on like no criteria. Just because maybe we saw a competitor doing it, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for us, right? So this is how we go about it. We go after our angles, and then eventually we start building landing pages, product pages, and advertorials or upsells, and the entire sales process congruent, right, to the angle that we push. And of course, we push one main product. Now, I want to go, before I dive deeper into like real life examples, I have a bunch of examples to show you over here. I want to kind of talk about something simple but extremely important. The problem is, and I've noticed this over and over again, sometimes we forget that we're selling to human beings. We see these dashboards over here, right, that have a bunch of dots, and we forget that these people, they're not just random data points. I mean, they kind of are. They are data points because, they're giving us data, but they are real people that have that struggle with life, just like me, just like you, just like any other human being. And we forget that this little dot, even if it looks like a significant dot, it's a really important person. It's a 52-year-old Lisa who is tired of her flappy arms, or this is a 40-year-old Nikki who feels insecure about her double chin, right? All of these people, all of these dots that we forget about, they're all real people that that deal with these issues. And so sometimes, as I said, we forget that we need to go back to the drawing board and the basics and actually give a shit about our customer, how they feel, what they think, and what they want, what triggers them, what they hate, and what they have tried in the past, like failed solutions. This leads automatically, 100% guaranteed, it leads us to finding better angles and building a better sales process. Once again, we don't have to be a genius, right, about this. We just need to be very critical, like thinkers, and understanding what they resonate with. Right? We can't just do random thing. So let me just bring you through the testing ad process that we use that is validated. And there's many ways of doing this, honestly. There's like 100+ ways of growing a business, if not even more, infinite ways of growing a business. But I'm just telling you what has worked for us. So once you have an avatar nailed down, let's just say we're going after Lisa, wanting to get rid of flappy arms, right? Once you have the avatar and you're good to go, this is how we test. We test angles, and I'm going to show you an example of different angles, how to come up with them, right, and all that stuff. But this is how we do it. We test angles on the creative side first. So let's just say we test 9 different angles in 1 or 2 weeks. We would send them to like somewhat of a general landing page, and the goal here is to basically understand the type of traction that we get on the front end with ads. Doesn't matter what type of image plus long form copy, or it could be a VSL, could be a UGC, could be a static, whatever it is. We're testing the angles. A good way to just test an angle is also to do statics because it's quicker, right? Not always the case depending on the industry, but it's a good strategy to test like things pretty fast. You get a pretty good understanding. Now, we're not looking to make bank here, okay? Although some of these, even if we send them to just a general landing page, will either scale or give us like decent results. But even if they give us like break even to like, I don't know, we're saying like, a good way to come about this is that we're basically doing, let's just say these 3 angles, right? This angle over here is giving us, right, a very low conversion rate. Let's just say CR, low conversion rate, but high CTR or high hook rates, right? Something like that. This obviously means that there is potential. So whenever we want to go after, let's just take these away. This is just an example. Whenever we go after like analyzing ads, right? We want to be able to see what are the components that made that ad work and didn't work. In some cases, we have like very strong metrics, but in some cases the conversion rate is low because probably we're maybe sending them to like a place where we shouldn't be sending them, or we should send them to like a better landing page. So you have to look at these trends. So we start gathering data, right, on what is working, what is the conversion rate. Once again, the profitable ads, we typically expand and we start doing advertorials for immediately, and we start like customizing offers if we need to. But also for the ads that just kind of fail on us, but just don't give us, but we see that there's very good potential because the cost per click is low, right? Or it's giving us like very high CTR and very good, when there's high CTR, it most likely means that the angle or what you're pushing as a message is really resonating because people are clicking through. Like there's a high CTR, right? You get the point. And also you're going to start noticing that each angle is going to give you perhaps different CPMs, right? Different CPMs are going to be more drastic when you go from like one avatar to another because you're like targeting completely different pools of people. But you can also see swings in CPMs, less or more expensive depending on the angles. So based on all these things, we eventually start building custom landing pages, advertorials, pre-landers, call them whatever you want, and start completely optimizing the sales journey to increase that conversion rate and get more revenue per visitor, right? That is the whole point. The whole point in ads is to get low cost per clicks and high CTRs and the highest revenue per visitor. This is how you maximize scales. Now, of course, the 9-figure brand, this is literally a 9-figure business doing $10 million a month. Typically, these companies, although it's not always the case, but eventually I'm going to also show you an example of a multi-8-figure company, 9 figures. This is how they approach it. They approach it like this. They scale with avatars horizontally. And of course, I didn't have space to put like 50 or 100 angles in here because it would be such a big diagram. But the idea is that they scale horizontally internally within the avatar, kind of like this, like how I just showed you, with marketing angles, right? This, what you're seeing here, these orange thing is what I like to call like iterations. So once you find the things that work, you're going to just continue pushing on that. So that's called the iteration. Typically these iterations can push you going, like they can increase your revenue. If you're doing like 200K, brings you from 200K to like 300K or 400K, like just doing more volume based on the things that are working is ideally eventually going to give you more volume in terms of revenue as well. If you know what you're doing and if you're tracking your hit rate, right, assuming nothing is random. These types of companies scale horizontally. So this is Lisa with flappy arms. This is Lisa or Emma with double chin. This is another woman in her 50s trying to get, has menopause and trying to get like rid of her fupa or like her belly fat. You get the point. Every single segment, every single avatar is a different segment, which you're gonna have to build different funnels, different angles. You get the point. It's like kind of like a mini business within a business. You should see it like this. And so this is typically how you scale horizontally. Now, I have seen businesses where the avatar is just so big and just full of potential, like health for men and women, right? Of course, it's kind of like broad, but they're specific about what problem they're solving. But the TAM is just so big that they're able to just scale to 10 million a month with just one. But of course, I think it's always very, very useful to like eventually get into a process where you have different avatars and different angles and you scale horizontally. And so the sky is more of the limit. Now, I want to bring you through a real life example. Let me know if you have any questions about this specifically. Before I get into a real life example, which is going to be very useful, I do also want to show you kind of like what this company over here is doing it and how they're doing it, specifically how I talked about in this video. They are BugMD, they sell like pest control, and they have a bunch of different landing pages. As you can see, 15% is going here, 10% here, almost 9% here, 7% though. So their landing pages are very well distributed. And as you can notice, these landing pages cater specifically to one specific type of angle, even within the same persona that they're targeting. So in this case, the angle would be stop overspending, so about money, urgency about money, stop overspending for pests that keep coming back. Another angle would be avoiding frustration about buying dozens of specialty products for each different pest. So the pain point of like buying everything just for one thing, that's like a different positioning, right, statement. Another one would be just about dogs. Exposing your dog to harmful chemicals is a risk the caring owner wants to take, right? And so this is a completely different angle, just shifted to like dogs. Another one would be stop mice. This is like a different product, right? These are like different products. But as you can see, each and different type of headline and advertorial specifically caters to an ad that talks about a specific persona with a different angle. This is another example. Top exterminator warns, bed bugs problems, check your mattress cracks for this hidden threat. You might be too late. So urgency and like being too late. Another example is pest expert warns, same framework. Don't try anything else for bed bugs until you see this. So it's kind of like a solution-based, right, angle. And so you get the point. There's a bunch of different ways to position your messaging that is going to resonate more or less with people, right, or attract different types of people as well. And so as you can see over here, just to show you, I hate when this happens. I have to log in again. Let's just give me a second here. Boom. Should work out. There we go. We're back. BugMD. Boom. Just to go back on track here, I'm going to show you like an example of a landing page, right? That's basically sending people to like, I think it's the pet landing page. This one that I showed you over here. Let's just take a look. This first one. Yeah, pet. If you take a look at all these ads, if you view all of these ads, I just click, these are all ads, 247 ads are just sending to that landing page. And guess what? Of course, all of these ads are about pets, right? They're all about pets. There isn't one ad that isn't about pets, okay? So everything is super, super duper congruent. And so which brings me to the next point, which is basically every single landing page, of course, is keeping in mind what the ad actually says on the front end. It's very, very congruent, as I said. Anyways, you get the point. You see, 110 active ads, 56 ads, 200 ads, all of these are congruent to the landing page. Now, hopefully you get the point. I want to show you a real life example so that we can kind of like crack into the weeds and get more granular so that you can kind of get inspiration. So let's just say the customer is Elisa, 52, body type is thin build, concerned about her flappy arms because she's 50 and she's getting, these flappy arms. Occupation, admin assistant at a dental clinic. She's married, she has 2 kids, and she lives in the US, okay, in the suburban areas. And so we have to be very specific with this persona. We have to learn everything about this persona, and we need to understand that she's basically, the main pain point here, from my understanding, is that because of her thin build, right, she's not fat, she's a normal person, maybe more on the thinner side, and because of that, she can't like lose weight, for example. And she has like bat wings, so she's kind of stuck, right? And so this is kind of the problem. And so let's go over some pain points, desires, aspirations, motivations, language barriers, insecurities together so that we can then formulate an entire sales process as a test, right? And by the way, all of this that I'm sharing with you is backed by research, right? So we do our research on like Gemini, ChatGPT, all these AIs, and then we get sources from our research and we dive deeper into the sources. We do it manually as well so that we can find all this information. So our core pain point, for example, this is what she says in her mind, right? I'm already skinny. I can't lose weight to fix this. And no matter what I try, these arms just stay soft and soggy or saggy, right? This is her core pain point. Her thoughts is like, everyone tells me I'm lucky to be thin, but I hate my arms, right? It's not fat, it's skin, it's age, and nothing I do is working. Or I feel like I've run out of options. Is surgery my just last option that I can hope for, right? this is probably a fear. I wear long sleeves even in summer just to hide them. Like this is what she is thinking, is like her internal dialogues. Her emotional world is like she feels like she's being ignored by most fitness and diet ads or coaches because they're all about fat loss. Well, she doesn't need to lose fat. She just needs to get rid of her flappy arms. She is embarrassed despite her being thin. She feels defeated because of the traditional advice, diet, exercise type of thing, which doesn't help her, and she's worried that the only fix that is going to help her is surgery or like shapewear, which she doesn't even want to wear. This is what she wants: a targeted solution that's made for women like her, slim but aging, right? She wants something that tightens, tones, and helps restore firmness, and you get the point. A zero BS, no pill, no gimmick, just something that actually works and proof that it works for other women, right? So this is basically what she is looking for, and this is just some, I'm not going to show you, but these are just some insights. I'm not sure what this actually is. I forgot. Let me show you. Let's see what's going on here. I believe this is... I don't even have access to it, so I'm not sure what it is. I think it's like a customer review insight. Yeah. So this is how we do customer review insights. I have a bunch of other videos on it. We export all the reviews, we feed it to ChatGPT, and we have it give us a summary so that we understand all of these things. You can get reviews from your best competitors, from your own reviews, or you get the point on Amazon, all these things. Now let's go over some ideal marketing angles, considering we're talking to this Lisa who is 52, who is skinny and wants to get rid of her floppy arms. So an example would be, this isn't a weight loss problem, it's a firmness fix, right? So going about fixes with her firmness, which is what she wants to solve. Or for women who are slim but still struggle with flappy arms, here's why. So this is an angle that's specifically targeted to what she has, right? Which is basically going after being skinny and still having flappy arms. Or you don't need to lose weight, you need to retrain your skin and muscles, which is like a different way, a different approach of approaching her problem. Or designed for women who've tried everything and are still hiding their arms, right? An angle about hiding their arms. Maybe something she's doing because she's embarrassed about her flappy arms, despite how good she looks on the outside, right? This works when the gym and diets don't, right? So a direct call out angle about about her concern about gyms that just don't give her what she wants, while this other solution works, right? So these are examples. These are green because these are like examples, like maybe things that would work better than others. At the end of the day, you need to test it. So let's just go over a sales process with angle number 2 and angle number 3, just to give you an ideal sales process. So angle number 2 would be for women who are slim but still struggle with flappy arms. Here's why. So we would maybe do a VSL, a long form VSL. You can do image ads, you can do statics. It doesn't actually matter. The most important thing that you need to remember is that although the creative concept type, UGC, non-UGC, statics, can allow you to maybe find that thing that resonates the most, meaning maybe 50-year-old women resonate the most with carousels or VSLs, right? Although that is important, and I get it, the most important thing is going to be cracking the code with your messaging. Because if you crack the code with your messaging, then it's going to be way easier to scale regardless of the format, and you can actually scale with more formats instead of just one. So a great idea can be to create high authority ads using a doctor talking about solution to tighten skin. So instead of having like an ad from a diet loss, weight loss coaching program or whatever, she's basically getting, and this is actually Miami MD, which is a great, very, very nice, successful multi-8-figure company, and they're very good with VSLs. So what I suggest you to do is maybe we can go ahead and dissect what a good VSL looks like, and we can build one with a doctor angle so that it adds authority. Right. Then the next thing would be leading them to like a doctor advertorial, right? And this is what the 3 maybe split test advertorials could be. Harvard dermatologist reveals how 10,000 plus 50-year-old women are using this arm sculpting device to get rid of flappy arms. We're selling like a sculpting device here, right? Or another one, Harvard dermatologist warns, fluffy arms at 50 have nothing to do with weight. Here's the real fix. So these are, once again, can you imagine being a person that has all of these pain points and is thinking of all these things, and you know exactly because you've done the research. You don't have to be a genius, right, to understand these things. You just have to take your time to learn, right? Do you imagine somebody having these same exact issues reading a headline like this? Do you think it would resonate with them? Of course it would. Of course it would. Next one, Harvard dermatologist explains, this FDA-cleared device helps women 50 plus firm their arms without breaking a sweat, right? Which is what they don't want to do, probably work out and do all those things because they're already thin. I don't know. And so then you send them to like a personalized page. I would do like, of course, the product page. If it's personalized exactly to the entire like avatar and angle, it's going to be better. For example, here they're specifically talking about like lift device, like arm lifting device, right? This is a company called My Derma Dream. They do very, very well with funnels. And they're selling the same device, but when they go after a different avatar or like a different angle, they actually change the wording and say sculpting, facial sculpting device instead of like arm lifting device, right? And so you get the point. So ideally you get to the point where you start basically personalizing your product pages and the way that you present them, or your sales pages. Okay, so this would be an ideal process. Another example would be like a long form VSL, a personal story of a 50-year-old Lisa who is skinny and can't lose weight anymore. To get rid of her flappy arms. And this is a transformational story of how Lisa went from this to this. So like going after current state versus future state, right? This is very, very important. And then they would go to like a case study or a relatable story article saying something like, I'm 50, my arms don't jiggle anymore. And then we say like what Lisa did to dramatically reduce flappy arms in just 45 days. And then we have like a transformation which is congruent to what they saw on the article, or the this wouldn't be a long form VSL. This would be like a UGC transformation ad. You get the point? And then you have like week 1, week 2, week 2, week 4, week 4, week 6, and so it's like you go over the relatable transformation story of this Lisa avatar, and then you go over like a product page that's similar to what I showed you over here. So these are 2 examples of something that I would kind of like crack. So let's just say you are you're getting started, or you're scaling, whatever the case may be, and you're testing these 5 angles for the week or for the month, and you notice, and you send all of these angles to, as I said over here, you send it to like a general landing page because you're just testing, right? If these 2 give you a good indication, good metrics, break even with like very, very low conversion rate, but very, very good front-end metrics, or it just gives you good results, then the next step is to build landers in a sales page that looks exactly like this. You build a sales process around that so that it can scale even more. Right? Another example for angle 3 sales process. And angle 3, to remind you, would be you don't need to lose weight or tone your muscles to get rid of flappy arms. So the claim that you don't need to do like you lose weight or tone your muscles, you just need to get rid of flappy arms, which is exactly the thought process of Lisa, right? So an example would be maybe a long form VSL. And bear with me because this is interesting, an interesting take, right? Like you would hook, this is an example of an ad. You can hook with a trainer telling people she trains women for 20 years and there's no workout to fix flappy arms. So it's kind of like counterintuitive, where all her life Lisa has been told from trainers that she needs a weight loss program or like a flappy arms toning program, but now a trainer that looks and feels exactly like all the other trainers tells her the opposite. I've done this for 20 years and there's no real flappy arms fix. So I reached out to a specialist, this is what the trainer says, dermatologist, that recommend this 5-minute at-home solution. It could work well as it comes from a trainer, as I said, that would normally sell a training program. In this case, the trainer is being honest and recommending a dermatologist approved product, right? So once again, personal trainer hook, right? And then takes away sales tension because she's basically putting the guard down. It's like, it's not the workout, I've done this for 20 years, but there's another solution. And then she hands over the mic to like a dermatologist. This could be something, right? And so an example of like an advertorial would be like a relatable story. Something like, I've trained 500 plus women and I could never fix flappy arms until one of my clients tried this. And then you bring her through credibility. I've trained 500 plus women. The problem, no matter how consistent they are, flappy arms wouldn't go away, especially in lean women. And then the frustration of, we tried every workout, it helps strength, not skin. I felt helpless. And then honest realization, I realized it wasn't fat, I was collagen loss and skin laxity, and I'm not a beauty expert. And so the discovery was, one client showed me a red light sculpting device. I was skeptical until I saw the results for my clients. And then you show the proof that it works for everybody else. Genuine recommendation, I'm not selling this, but if you've tried everything and still hide your arms, this might be what you're missing, right? Here's the device to check availability. You get the point. And then it sends for the same page. This could be a sales page, a product page. You're gonna have to test what works for you. Okay, that is it, guys. There's a big misconception here that, although the misconception would be like, I can't scale because it's saturated. Couldn't be more further away from the truth. If it's saturated, the reason you can't scale is because of marketing. Or I can't scale because of the product. Although it can be true, ideally you start with a product where there's some sort of proof of concept already. That's what I recommend. Start with a product that has proof of concept, that already has product market fit, and then either just be very good at marketing, or be very good at marketing while also like making that product better, so you have your leverage in the claims that you can make. Or it's the market is not resonating with me. This is all BS, right? 99, although as I say over here, although there might be a slim chance that it may be one of these one of these problems that I mentioned above, 90% or 99% of the times it's your damn creatives and sales process and marketing that is not allowing you to scale. Okay, that is it for this video. Let me know what you thought about this video. Key takeaway is scale with angles. there's like that's the biggest leverage point that you can focus and do it like I explained. If you have any questions about anything, and also if you have a brand doing at least $100,000 a month and you want to explore the opportunity of working with us, assuming we have open slots, you can book in a call, and you're probably going to speak with me or one of my team members, and together we can explore the opportunity of growing together as a for your e-commerce brand. That's it, and see you in the next video. Bye.